hold on. I'm trying to think of how I want to tell these stories because I feel like I'm preemptively burning bridges. Let me just put it this way, okay? I'm just sitting here. So I want to sit in the I want to sit in the speaker's tent because there's what I consider to be like tons of high IQ, super intellectual people. I want to sit here and absorb some of their wisdom. Like, what do these guys talk about? And it's so much self-indulgent conversation. I was like, I couldn't believe it. I think I was typing in chat like some of the things that I was hearing. It was just like some of the most pretentious. Does anybody have my logs from that day? Oh, top and bottom. Oh my goodness, I'm just listening to these philosophers talk on this tent, and these conversations are lol w. Oh, one guy said, I say, psychosis is just the decoupling of reason with value. Bro, every single thing these guys were saying felt like a tweet that I would read on, what's the name of that one guy? Daedalus or whatever? The book guy? You know you're right when both the left and the right are attacking you. Soy. The opposite of spiritual is not atheism. It's extreme anthropomorphism, and it's rotting our society. The overprescription of medication is the direct personification of the spiritual void. Bro, dude. Oh! Everybody's trying to like one up each other with their intelligence, which is really funny because for me, I can get in with anybody in this tent because if you ask a few questions, people are so excited to talk about themselves. But I ended up feeling really bad because there's this lady to the left of me, and then behind me, I'm listening to Zizek and these guys talk for like 35 minutes. And then the lady to the left of me asked me a question about her schedule, and I'm like, oh, let me see if I can help. And I find out she's giving a talk on, can capitalism be made good? And then I kind of joke, and I was like, oh, this is funny. I'm a YouTube, retard, but I talk about a lot of stuff like this in my stream. And I'm like, what's your background? And she's like, oh, I think she got a PhD in microecon, and she's a professor at Harvard. And I'm like, I should have been talking to this lady for 40 minutes instead of listening to these fucking randos behind me. And then she has to walk off and do her speech. I feel like an idiot. There were a lot of really smart people there. There was... Okay. I will blow up Kelly here. This motherfucker. Okay. So there's a guy that goes here, okay? There's a guy on a panel, 3 people. One was an author lady. The other was like a philosopher guy. And then in the middle, I didn't know how many people were coming to this festival. I'm going to be honest. When I first accepted the invite, I thought this was going to be like 50 people at the whole thing, okay? But it's like a Zizek, so I'll fucking do it, okay? I thought there was going to be 50 people the whole thing. It was actually a really big festival. There were, what would I say, 1,000 people there for visitors, and then a lot of really high-quality speakers. I was really impressed. And in the middle, there's a guy called Roger Penrose, okay? This guy is like a Nobel-winning physicist, okay? He's like 91 years old. Very intelligent guy. Very interesting that that this guy's here. So that he goes back and forth, and the panel is incredibly mismatched, which is kind of funny because this guy stage left is like trying to argue with Penrose about like where consciousness comes from, but he's just a philosopher, and so anytime a philosopher starts talking about quantum mechanics, like I could tell that Penrose in the middle was a little bit irritated because like the guy on the left is like he's like mixing up like special and general relativity and trying to talk about human. It's just like it's a kind of a whatever. It's just it's funny watching Penrose. He has to keep like correcting in the middle, but whatever. But afterwards, he gave an interesting theory. Not theory. I'm sorry. He has an interesting opinion. So Penrose believes that no AI will ever be sufficiently complicated enough to have like a conscious experience. And then he references something that sounded to me like Searle's computer room, where he mentioned something about how like if you teach a computer Chinese, like it might know the language, but it doesn't have understanding, which I thought was interesting. So I've got a special speaker pass, so I figure maybe I'll get a little bit more credit. I can chat with the guy. And he's going to, so he goes to a tent. I wait probably 30 minutes for everybody to go, and then I have the chance to talk to this dude. I'm like, this is a Nobel-winning physicist. Like I'm so fucking hyped to talk to this guy. So I asked him a question about there were a couple questions I had. One was, I was curious if he had an opinion on the idea that, because he talked a lot in his speech about how physicists are relentlessly trying to marry relativity and Einstein's theory of gravity, space-time with quantum mechanics, and hasn't been done. So I had like one was a question of like, do you think that physicists are mistaken for trying to simplify everything into like a single equation, or do you think there's any merit? Because I've heard some people talk about that. He spoke about that for a little bit. And then my second question had to do with, I wanted to know what he meant about understanding. When you talk about how something understands something, like what does that mean to you? And then I wanted to go, from there to see like what he thought the fundamental difference would be between like a brain constructed in a computer versus like a human brain. And he's halfway through answering this question. I don't know why she does this. And then Kelly to the left of me, she's like, can you explain to my friend the double slit experiment? I was trying to explain it earlier to him, but I don't think he understood. About how things can be both a wave or a particle depending on like frequency and shit. And I'm just like, why would you do this to me? And then he spends like 25 minutes talking about wave particle, and then I just like leave, and I'm like, why? This guy is 91 years old. He's on death's door. This guy, I don't even know if he survived the walk back to the tent. Okay, he's looking rough. Penrose is literally the most accomplished still living physicist. Is he? He was giving me like a pretty interesting explanation for his understanding too. He rambles a lot, but he spent like building up to the understanding thing. He gives me like a 15-minute background on Christ. I don't remember the first part, but it ends up leading into like Gödel's incompleteness theorem and the idea of like meta rule sets, that you can have all the rules for a given set, but there might be rules that exist on top of those rules because there's rules that are applied, et cetera, et cetera. It was like a pretty interesting discussion up to that point. And then she just curved it completely into the, oh God.
One of my graduate students, Paul Todd, he's had a much better way of saying it. He said, why don't you say that you can stretch out the Big Bang?
Just the way that she, I don't even know why, dude. Okay, anyway, but my God. A few things I wasn't ready for, okay? I haven't spent too much time in Bongerland, and I think this is the first time I've driven in Bongerland. I always say Americans drive crazy, okay? Like North America is like, and South America too, are crazy drivers. Okay, in Wales, these roads are so fucking small. I'm not even sure if they're meant for one car, okay? I'm not actually sure. I'm like, am I supposed to drive here? And all of these are two-way. And Bongers, or Welsh people, do not fuck around on these roads, okay? I'm going like 45 on a road where I feel like I'm gonna lose my life at every turn. And I'm getting tailgated like crazy.
Old River, Chief hit me bumper.
By every single person in this country. And it is so goddamn stressful. Because I'm already having trouble like centering your car, for me at least. I got used to it by day 2. But day 1 was so stressful. Keeping your car in the center of the road is very weird when you're on the other side of the car. Plus, I'm trying to change gears with my left hand instead of my right hand. Plus, I got my phone for my map on, and these roads are so fucking small, so I'm trying not to run off the road while also not getting killed by the people that are driving on the other side of me. Jesus Christ.